The basic refrigerant cycle is a continuous loop. So where do we begin? Let's start with some real shots of the components and basic explanations before we move to the whiteboard. In this video, we will start at the compressor. Typically, compressors will look like this and will be found inside of the outdoor equipment. An extremely important thing to understand about compressors is that they are vapor pumps. This means that they take vapor or gas in and they discharge vapor or gas out as well. Under no circumstance should a compressor be taking in liquid. Once the refrigerant has been discharged from the compressor, it then enters the condenser coil. The condenser coil is usually wrapped around the outdoor unit and is designed to remove heat. The condenser fan facilitates drawing air across the outdoor or condenser coil to accommodate heat removal. Once enough heat has been removed, the discharge from the outdoor unit will be subcooled liquid. Once the subcooled liquid has been discharged from the outdoor unit, it will then be piped into the indoor or evaporator coil. The subcooled liquid refrigerant will then encounter a metering device. The metering device is simply a small orifice that releases pressure at a specific rate. Most modern systems will use TXV, thermal expansion valves, EEVs, or electronic expansion valves. Older systems will use pistons, which will simply be properly sized holes. Think of an expansion valve like you would a garden hose. The end of your garden hose represents the expansion valve. The thumb represents the TXV or EEV. The modulation represents how much refrigerant is introduced into the indoor coil. On a piston or fixed metering device, it would look something like this, with no modulation. Once the refrigerant has left the metering device, it will then circulate through the evaporator coil. As the blower brings air across the evaporator coil, it will pick up heat and the refrigerant will begin to boil. Once the refrigerant has boiled off into vapor, it will then begin its journey into the suction line and make its way back to the compressor. The cycle is now complete. Let's go to the whiteboard to help visually explain the process. Starting again at the compressor, or vapor pump, the incoming vapor is compressed into a high-temperature hot gas. The superheated vapor refrigerant is then routed through the condenser coil to remove heat. As the vapor condenses, the temperature drop turns it into a subcooled liquid. The subcooled liquid is then piped into a metering device. The refrigerant exiting the metering device as a saturated liquid circulates through the evaporator coil and absorbs heat. As the liquid refrigerant absorbs heat, it boils off into vapor. The vapor is then returned to the compressor, and the cycle continues. Still lost? Need a professional? Look us up. We service East Central Florida. All new customers receive $25 service calls with no strings attached.